Hayden and Popa's eyes darted up and around the cafeteria frantically, having no idea what caused the sudden alarm to blare around them, and quickly came to the decision to sprint towards the exit and head back to the intersection for Jace. Before reaching it, a door on the opposite side of the room exploded off of the hinges, and gave way to a flood of security officers armed with full SWAT armor and rifles labeled, "Wellness Weapon." As the both of them briefly glanced behind, then at each other with an, "Oh shit," a barrage of bullets and gunfire popped and cracked around them. A slew of athletics and dexterity checks was followed by bullets whizzing by their heads as they ran for their lives down the hallway, now carelessly screaming and throwing attacks behind them as they ran. Hayden and Popa eventually arrived at the intersection at the same time as Jace and Smallscreen. They all took off down the way they came, and after rolling initiative, an epic chase sequence ensued. Even though the party was relatively unscathed, Smallscreen was not so fortunate. After struggling to keep up with the, now, stronger and faster Hayden, Jace, and Popa, Smallscreen caught a bullet to the leg, and came crashing down into a rolling ball of nuts and bolts on the ground. Still conscious enough to exchange one last look with the party, Smallscreen would then give his final broadcast of a closing news animation before being trampled to death by the security guards. Even though they met him mere moments before this, the party felt as though they had lost a dear friend. They couldn't dwell on it for long, though. Getting more exhausted as they turned countless corners and curves, still running with every bit of strength they had, they began to attack the walls around them in order to create obstacles for the guards in pursuit, to overwhelming success. As they gained more and more distance, the party eventually lost them around a final series of turns and corners, and earned a brief chance to catch their breath. Slowing their pace down to a walk, Hayden, Popa, and Jace gasped for air, drenched in sweat but still slowly dragging their feet step by step to keep moving. Finally getting the chance to examine their surroundings, they realized that the floor had a noticeable slant to it, and they seemed to be descending down to some lower level, still resembling the same hallways from before, but slightly different. The walls had chipped paint and there were no longer red buttons next to the observation windows, which seemed to be larger and more spread apart. From the damage to the hallways and ceilings, they could see transparent tubes running along the interior of the walls and above the light fixtures, all flowing with the same glowing and glittering purple fluid. They decided to follow where the tubes seemed to be originating from. The hallway eventually led down to a half-circle, rising sun-style, exitway that stopped at a balcony overlooking some sort of room that was brand new to the party. When they walked through the opening and approached the edge of the balcony, to their right and left there were staircases that led down the edges of a massive circular pit. When they peered down to the bottom, they saw a maze-like structure about 100 yards down cascaded in shadow. When the party thought about it, if they were the Wellness Foundation and they wanted to contain a god, down there's probably a good place to do it. Hayden agreed to stay up top while Popa and Jace descended the left staircase to find out what waited for them at the bottom. Before they split up, Hayden dug into his backpack and pulled out two strange-looking stones. He told the others he bought them the last time they were in Haven, and they were essentially like magic walkie-talkies limited to 25 words per message. He tossed one to Jace, and Popa followed him down while Hayden turned around and cautiously fixated on the hallway behind them.